Hello there! In this episode, we're gonna talk about Ruby's awesome OpenClass feature. OpenClass is an amazing feature of Ruby which lets you to add behavior to pre-existing classes. Imagine it's an open bag where you can put new items or replace items. Since there is no such stages like compile time, linking time in Ruby, there is only runtime. Therefore, you can say that OpenClass lets you modify the content of classes in runtime. In Ruby, classes are always open for modification. Ruby allows to add behaviors to already defined classes from anywhere. It's not only limited to user-defined classes. In addition, this applies to every built-in classes like array, object, and the class itself. Hey, why don't we try ourselves? Let's create a file in which we will modify the already existing class called fixnum. Hey, I just remember that there is no such class as fixnum in Ruby 2.4. From 2.4 onward, integers will be an instance of integer class and floating points numbers will be an instance of float class. So let's see how Rails adds the hours method in integer class. Let's open the integer class and add a method called hours. This method is supposed to convert hours into number of seconds. So the output result would be in seconds, and we assume that the already existing value in that object is in hours. Let's alias that method with hour so that we can use both the messages to convert hours into seconds. Let's use pry. We saved. Now we will run the file. Let's see if the integer class is modified or not. 1.hour. Yes, 2.hour. Yeah, it's working. This is how Rails ports new behaviors to pre-existing classes. There are a lot of examples of added behaviors we love in Rails. For example, .years, .minute, .seconds, .present. This is the most abundantly used added behavior in Rails. .blank, etc. Now the question arises, what happens to the older behavior when overwritten? The answer is, the older behavior will be gone. There will no more be the older behavior. Now the object will start behaving in a new fashion you just defined. So let's see what happens when the already existing behavior is redefined in later part somewhere. Let's create a file. Write.rb. We'll create a class called myClass. Add a behavior called print, and this will behavior. Now we will eagerly define an object of the class. We want to check if already instantiated objects will have new modified behavior or the older one. We'll open that class again. We redefine the existing behavior. Now we'll start trying in this session. We will save the file and we'll run the file. Let's instantiate an object of the new modification. Now let's see what happened to the older behavior of previously instantiated object. Looks like the older behavior is overwritten by the new behavior, and it's obvious that the new object is going to have the new behavior. Yes, it is. And what happens is, when you modify the existing behavior, then the already existing blueprint of the class is modified, and You need to understand that the method definitions are stored with the class, not with the objects. So any modification you do in the methods, then every object which are instantiated from that particular class will have modified behavior. I assume you guys are familiar with the term monkey patching. This is a term used among programmers when you write your version of patch of any behavior pre-existing in some library which does not belong to you. This technique has benefits as well as downsides of breaking the whole system and never knowing what happened. You can redefine or add many functionalities to existing classes, like if you are using active support, then you can add some feature to the active support of your application and it can work well. But if you unknowingly overwritten the existing behavior in the active support library, then Rails application might crash and you might not know what happened. So this is the downside of OpenClass feature. Let's discuss some practical use cases of OpenClass, how you can use OpenClass in your application. Say you have a need to display a log to standard out or any standard stream in different color for different log label, like red for errors, blue for information, pink for warning. So you made different functions to do so. Let's try this out by ourselves. We defined 3 methods which are supposed to encode the string in different colors that the standard output device can understand, and we define a method called log which will display the message to the appropriate standard stream. Now let's try in this session. Save. I will execute. Now let's use the method we just defined, log. Something bad happened. Type will be error. It's displaying the message in red color. Let's see. Something bad might happen in future. Type will be warning and it's in pink color, and the normal will be in blue color. So what is the problem with this code then? The code is not so object oriented. The functions are scattered all over the application scope, so that is a reason why the idea of OOP is conceived in the first place. Ruby is a pure object oriented language, therefore we need to leverage this feature of Ruby. Now we'll redefine the methods red, blue, pink in object oriented fashion. We'll open the string class and insert those behaviors inside the string class, and now every string objects can be colorized in object oriented fashion, and also the log method won't be in application global scope. We will create a myLogger object. Let's see how to do that. We added the behavior inside the string class. Now we created a class called myLogger to do a specific job of logging information to the standard streams. So in this example we also are considering the single responsibility principle from the SOLID principles put forward by Uncle Bob. Now we will use pry. Instantiate a new logger object, logger.log. The error message is displayed in red color. Likewise, the warning will be displayed in pink color, and normal information will be displayed in blue color. So there is something I need to explain to you in the code above. The 31, 34 and 35 are the color codes for respective colors. This format of encoding is same in every language. Like in C, you can use this format in printf to display information in different colors. And I am using these objects. These are global variables. They are available in Ruby instance. These are standard out, standard error streams, It is a good practice to use separate stream for appropriate kind of information you want to display on the screen. Ruby treats normal code and class or module definition code similarly, but quite not the same. They might seem so similar, but there is a lot of difference. We can iterate the class definition code like if you run this code, you will see class has been defined 3 times. It might seem so, but class is defined only in the first attempt, and in the second and third time you are just trying to modify the already existing class. You need to understand that class is also an instance of the class. So when you define the code like from line number 2 to line number 4, it tries to reinstantiate the class with name A, capital A. So in the process of defining, the puts method gets executed. This is what happens. But there is a little difference between the normal code and class definition. Let's see. Now I'm trying to print how many times I'm trying to redefine the class. Let's see if this gets executed. Looks like we encountered an error. The variable I is not defined. The problem is the variable I is not accessible over here because these two are at different lexical scope. So first what happens is when Ruby goes through this code, first it parses the class definition code and then it executes, that is instantiate a class instance called capital A. So these two are different lexical scopes. So the local variable I is not accessible inside the class. Another important thing that I want to show you is instance variables are not defined in objects until you invoke some method that sets them. For example, you can have different sibling objects having different sets of instance variables. Let's see this. Let us put a new method called some method, and this method is supposed to set an instance variable called message. Now we'll use pry to see what happens. in the runtime. We instantiate object 1 with a.new and object 2 a.new. Now we'll see what kind of instance variables are defined in object 1. There is none, and in object 2 instance variables are expected to be none. Yes, but when we call the method some method, now when we check for instance variables, then we can see that the instance variable message is set. So this is what I was talking about. When you make changes to global scope, it might break something in libraries you are using in your application. Or even though it's not harming, one question arises is it worth it to bloat the global scope? Maybe you need that feature in some specific scope only. You could use singleton method technique to limit the scope instead. We'll talk about singleton methods in our later episodes. Also, you can use refinements to limit the scope of your OpenClass feature, or let's say monkey patching. You need to always see if the method you are trying to define already exists in the library. You should try to avoid the conflict between your method and the already existing one. Also, try to limit the scope of your changes so that there will be less harm in the other part of your application. This is it for OpenClass feature of Ruby. In the next episode, we'll talk about refinements where you can confine the effects of monkey patching. Thanks, and please subscribe to my channel.